to you by Gravedigger, built by the Munchkin. I'm going to sit here and play with this all day. Look at Schwartz over there being all serious.
I'm being serious. We're on a radio show, Dave.
Oh, excuse me. Hey, a self-defense event happens in seconds. And in the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life could change forever. I pray you've never forced to shoot in self-defense, but if you must, then you must be ready. That's why the USCCA exists, because every responsibly armed American should have the training and education to navigate a self-defense situation. And should you ever need it, the 24/7 Critical Race team is right there for you. To discover more about the USCCA, visit uscca.com/GOR. Act now, because the life you save could be your own. uscca.com/GOR.
And you heard it here first. In the February monthly meetings for San Diego County gun owners, USCCA is going to sponsor the meetings and put on a self-defense seminar. So check out our newsletter, San Diego County gun owners, and come join us. It's going to be a free seminar. You get some free food, and USCCA is going to do some cool stuff.
Where's it going to be at?
There's 3 meetings. One's at North County Shooting Center in San Marcos. One's at Poway Weapons and Gear in Poway, and then LaBella's Pizza down in Chula Vista. It's the third week of the month. It's like the 20th. Let me double check. 21st, 22nd, 23rd. But what you need to do is get on our email list by either becoming a member or joining, or just get on our email list by going to our website, and keep your eye out for more information. Check out our calendar online as well. So also the Gundies, it's that time of year again. The Gundies they're looking for nominations for gun type media, gun radio shows. So vote for us. What you want to do is go to thegundies.com. That's the Gundies, thegundies.com, and vote for Gun Owners Radio. If you think we're the best and the
cat's meow,
brightest and the bee's knees.
Yeah, and the cat's meow.
The cat's meow. Go to thegundies.com and vote for us.
Who puts that together?
I don't even know. I should know that.
I had never heard of this.
Well, we had a strong showing last year. That was really the first time, but
and you didn't.
We want to win. We did. We talked all about it.
I would have brushed my hair.
We talked all about it. In fact,
you did not. I've never heard of it.
We did. Walt, how many times did you vote for us in the Gundies last year? You can vote 3 times a day, and Walt did that. So he voted about 100 times. You were taking a nap, I think, for a couple of months.
Action Jackson, did you vote?
Yes.
Vote early and often.
Wait a minute.
You can put all of your votes to the same person. So you get a vote for each category, and I think there's 15 categories.
There you go.
All right.
One in each category or 15.
So vote.
And if we win, you get a free gun owner's hat.
That's right.
All right.
Also, Gun Owners Online. Actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. First, recap. We had our meetings last week, and we talked about the listening sessions and what's coming up. What's extremely important is these listening sessions are, of course, the county trying to ban your guns. Mm-hmm. So what we need you to do is they're looking for feedback online. And if you look at our email from Thursday, and we're going to send one out again this week, you're going to take this survey. It's only about 4 or 5 minutes, but we want to make sure we bury them with pro-Second Amendment feedback, because they didn't get what they were hoping to get from the listening sessions. So they're trying to find other ways to ban your guns. So we talked about this at the meetings. If you're at the meetings, you know what I'm talking about. If not, go check out our email. It came out Thursday, or get on our email list and get our email this week. But we need you to take the time to fill out this survey, Super Dave. I got to get you that link. So
give me the link. I'll do it.
Tuesday, the county is actually going to do a recap of what they found out from these listening sessions. So you can go down there if you want and check out their meeting. It's in the morning. Or if you go on the County Board of Supervisors, their website, you can actually just tune in and watch live. So you don't have to leave the comfort of your home and go down to the cesspool that is the County Board of Supervisors. But check it out. We'll probably do a recap and let everybody know. We'll talk about it on the show next week. But these listening sessions, the results of the listening sessions are going to come up on Tuesday for the county board. So please check it out. Monthly meetings, if you're in Orange County or Inland Empire. Inland Empire had their monthly meeting last Saturday. And then this Saturday, they're going to be at the gun show in San Bernardino County, which is very cool. So volunteer to help them. They'll get you into the gun show for free. And then Orange County is having their monthly meeting at FT3 Tactical this Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So come check it out if you're anywhere near the Orange County area. And check out our radio merch. Go to gunownersradio.com. Merch section, it's listed there. Or just go directly to it, shop.gunownersradio.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, the lovely Alicia is wearing our Gun Owners Radio shirt.
Hey.
And the lovely Schmedley Action Jackson over here is wearing our hat. Very stylish.
And Michael's wearing the underwear.
And I'm wearing our Gun Owners Radio underwear.
I know.
I got to tell you, it's lacier than I thought we were going to go with. But
well,
as
we
far
were
as
going
comfort
for a bikini
factor,
cut on you.
Yeah.
So is it chaffing?
It's
a little
definitely
bit?
cutting.
Is
I'll
it chaffing a little bit?
tell you that.
Barely got things.
Somebody get him some talcum powder, will you, please?
Hey, so
Hey,
I got to
you
tell
like
you,
that.
yeah, you like that. I got to tell you, we got feedback last week from an extremely important listener who I love very much. He said that we talk about food too much on this show. So I decided that, you know what, maybe sometimes we do get a little too cheesy, and I feel like we should stick to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, and eliminate
Yeah.
the corn.
Yeah, we don't want to get all corny.
Yeah, we don't want to get all corn.
I think he's got a really strong
Or
point.
as I would say, get your own show.
No, he was very politeful, but politeful.
We
He was
just
politeful.
did- we
Just made that term
We
up.
just didn't talk about food that he likes.
Anyway, what do you think? You think we talk about food too much, Action Jackson?
I think we're going nuts over food.
Nice.
Ah,
Or as I,
well, you eat the whole time, right?
I just finished a roll from Taco Bell.
Oh,
And don't forget the black licorice.
Yeah,
black licorice and Taco Bell.
absolutely.
Oh, jeez.
Let me see your tongue.
How old are you? You only got about 25, 30 more years to eat like that.
Yeah, you can't eat
'Cause-
any more black licorice.
Yeah. Come hit about 40 and you're eating Taco Bell and black licorice.
Absolutely. Just pounding it.
You're
man.
wiped out for like a week.
Well, you know they did turn the pyramid upside down.
I don't
So
know what that.
cere-
I don't know what that means.
That means
Do I want to know what that
cereal-
means?
No, cereal is the best thing for you. Not meat, not chicken, not any of that.
I
They
don't know.
literally turned it upside down.
I don't think a whole lot of people are going to look at me and say, "Hey, Mike, what's the best food for me?"
You're going to tell them black licorice. That's right. We're not supposed to talk about food anymore.
That's right. We're not supposed to talk about. Alicia,
We're going
Yes.
bananas.
how you doing?
over it.
Yeah, he's going to bananas over how much food we talk about.
I'm good.
How's it going over there?
Good, good.
Yeah.
She has an
Just had
instructor
lunch.
jacket on.
Anything
It's cold
exciting?
outside.
Are you doing a segment this?
Later. Yeah.
Do a little like 10
Promo.
seconds.
Well,
Tell
you
them-
know, so-
don't talk about the subject, but just
Right.
like what is your segment?
A
Okay.
tease.
So you know how we decided to kind of start doing a self-defense incident weekly, just to kind
Yes.
of talk about, right? We're already deviating from that. We're talking about an incident. However, it's not what the original intention was, but I
There-
think it's important to cover.
There's your teaser right
Yeah.
there. So stay
you
tuned
go.
for what, the 5 o'clock hour?
Maybe.
I just got confirmation, by the way, before we go to commercial. If for those of you out there that love YouTube, Don Shipley runs the Phony Seal of the Week channel, where he uncovers guys that are lying about being a SEAL.
Mm-hmm.
It is fascinating.
Is it
It's
really?
fascinating. He was legitimately a SEAL and is an extremely entertaining guy. I just got confirmation that he's coming on the show in a couple of weeks.
All right.
So everybody mark your calendars. Not next week, but the week after, we're going to have Don Shipley on. Next, we're going to have Beth Bauman on. She's a political reporter and editor at the Daily Wire. So we're going to talk to her about all kinds of cool stuff.
Hey, if you have legal matters that involve firearms, then you need to call our California firearms lawyer, John Dillon, especially if you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150, or you can visit his website at dillonlawgp.com.
.com. All right, our next guest is Beth Bauman. She's a political reporter and editor at the Daily Wire. She previously covered breaking news and politics at Town Hall and The Blaze. Her primary interests include the Second Amendment, illegal immigration, and free speech on college campuses and long walks on the beach. No, I don't know about that last part. But anyway, Beth, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, I want to make sure, I always screw up names. How do you pronounce your last name, Beth?
You actually did it. You actually said it right.
Yes.
Bauman.
So happy. All right, cool. Well, thank you for being on the show. Let's talk a little bit about, first off, just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got there.
So I was an editor at Daily Wire. That ended probably a couple years ago now.
Oh.
But I know I've kind of bounced all over the place the last few years. So I just started out as someone who was a concerned citizen and got involved and actually worked on campaigns in the Inland Empire, where I'm originally from, and worked on stuff throughout California. Eventually moved with my now husband to Idaho, and ended up getting paid for my opinions. Didn't always happen that way. It was just something I kind of did because I felt called to do it, and I was blessed enough to make a living, doing it for a while. My dad is former law enforcement, so I would say that guns were always kind of a part of my life, and something about them, just in the Second Amendment, I felt called to it, and the lack of adequate information out there, and being frustrated with people who would blatantly lie about the laws or how they impacted us really made me an advocate that wanted to do it justice.
Now, you say you got paid for your opinions. Talk about that. What does that mean?
Well, I mean,
because I have a lot of opinions. People usually pay me to
not tell them.
Yeah, here, I'll give you $10 if you stop talking about, watches and food more or whatever, whatever the heck I'm talking about that week. But what do you mean? How are you getting paid for your opinion?
Well, I mean, I would get to write opinion pieces about different legislation or anything from illegal immigration to gun control laws, really anything that I kind of felt, like I said, called to explain. Anything that I had personal experience dealing with. So one of the things I frequently talk about in my pieces is being a sexual assault survivor, being a domestic violence survivor, and how, for me, gun control is a way of really harming women like me again and re-victimizing those who decided to take action instead of continuing to be a victim or a survivor.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That's horrible.
No, you know what? As horrible as it was, I would never change it because it made me who I am, and it gave me the convictions I have today. So I
think that's a great attitude too. I frequently tell people I have no regrets. I really have no regrets.
No, and
because if I didn't do something the way I did it, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I think that's a great attitude.
Absolutely.
So you grew up in the Inland Empire. You were in Riverside or San Bernardino or?
Paris is my hometown.
Oh, I hear it's beautiful this time of year. Paris? Oh.
Yeah, she lives under the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Not that one.
Oui. Yeah. No, I know right where Paris is. We also have Inland Empire gun owners. We have San Diego County gun owners, Orange County gun owners, and then very recently, within the last couple of years, we started Inland Empire gun owners. And Carla runs Inland Empire gun owners, and I believe she is, I don't know if she still lives, but she's very, very close to Paris. So I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yep. So I grew up there, worked in Riverside, San Bernardino, Redlands, Yucaipa, worked all throughout that area. So, yep.
How did you know what?
Called home.
How did the political bug bite you? How'd you get involved in that?
I would say, well, I grew up listening to John and Ken and Laura Ingraham before anybody knew who she was. And I grew up in a household where my parents I wouldn't say they pushed me into talking about current events, but I definitely grew up in a household where, you know, my parents read the paper. They, you know, watched the news when it was actually news and had conversations with me. But I would really say that illegal immigration and seeing, I mean, growing up in the Paris, Riverside, Moreno Valley area where it is very heavily, it's heavily illegal immigration, I really saw the firsthand impact of that. And especially in my teenage years. And I think that really is truly what motivated me and what initially propelled me to being a conservative. When Obama was dumping illegal aliens in Marietta, I was actually one of the people who was out there in the 100-degree heat and spent the night and, you know, across from the Marietta Border Patrol Station. And it was just something that I saw, you know, jobs being taken away from Americans, seeing how
And that got you fired up
the
to
economy
be involved.
Yeah.
Would it,
Yeah,
now, when
absolutely.
were you? I believe you said you were involved in some campaigns. Was it federal or state, or what level campaigns were you involved in?
All. So I did quite a few congressional and senatorial, some city council. I myself threw my hat in the ring for Paris City Council when I was like 22, just because I felt like people were incompetent. I know I had no shot, but I did. I was like, hey, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You know,
Everybody's got a shot. I mean, listen, our focus. I don't know if you're familiar with San Diego County Governors and Orange and Inland Empire Governors. Our focus are city councils. That's where we try to get pro Second Amendment people elected. Is at these city councils. Now, I'll tell you, you got to have resources. You got to be able to raise money. You got to, have a circle of influence. You got to have some kind of volunteer, army. It doesn't have to be huge, but everybody's got a chance in these city council races, which is what that's one of the things that makes it so fun to focus on these city council races. You really can. You can pull off a major victory, with very little resources and a whole lot of, elbow grease. So I think any given Sunday, everybody's got a chance in these local races. I'm glad you threw your hat in. What did you learn from running for office?
I mean, it wasn't a full on, campaign. It was just, they were filling a vacant seat sort of thing. So it was up to the rest of the council's discretion.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But I mean, it was really a reminder of how, and I knew this coming from a political background and interning in DC and whatnot, that it really is about who you know, not what you know. And, if you're not, I was far too conservative for these progressive council members. So it wasn't surprising to me that they chose someone who was also just as progressive.
Wow, in Paris.
And it wasn't
in Paris of all places. You would describe at the time the city council is full of politically progressives. In Paris.
Oh yes.
And I'm not.
Yes.
I guess I'm sounding surprised, but I just think that a lot of people are surprised. They don't realize. Oh well, it's Riverside County, it's San Bernardino County. Everybody's good old God-fearing, apple pie eating.
I will tell you this. So I worked on Steve Adams' campaign when he ran against Mark Takano, who's now the congressman there, and Takano's risen the ranks. And the congressional district at the time was Yurupa Valley, Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of that district is very progressive, but because it encompasses Riverside and parts of Victoria and whatnot, everybody assumes that it's red, and it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the people who live in that area, a lot of them, are, I would say, the kind of stereotypical Democrats. They're, and I think a large part of it has to do with the illegal immigration factor. A lot of them, their family members are, somehow, not all of them, but there's a large population that is illegal. And so they vote with the Democrats because the Democrats promised amnesty and things along those lines. So that district is very, very, very blue.
Yeah, and I just think a lot of people make assumptions. We are too surprised by that. Now we're going to go to break here in a minute, but it sounds like the background that we read about you is old. So where are you? Where can people find your writing these days? Who are you with?
So I'm writing at Armed American News. And I do that as I have time. Right now, for full-time living, I'm doing political fundraising and helping get those candidates who share my values, helping them raise money to win.
Awesome. We're going to do another segment. When we come back, I want to talk to you about some of the impacts that local gun regs have and why it's important to focus on them.
Orange County Gun Owners is dedicated to preserving and restoring Orange County self-defense. And if you live in Orange County and want to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, you need to join ocgunowners.com/join. Orange County Gun Owners is the do something organization to restore and defend the Second Amendment. Volunteer at a shooting social, at a gun shop, tabletop, and help more pro-gun local officials get elected. Become a member today, ocgunowners.com/join.
We're talking to Beth Bauman. She's an author at Armed American News. We found out, I don't think I realized this, that you're from Inland Empire, which is awesome. So we're talking a little bit about Inland Empire and some local politics. So before we circle back to local politics and Second Amendment, what made you focus on Second Amendment specifically? It seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a couple years ago, or within the last couple years, you really focused and focused in on Second Amendment issues rather than some of the broader political issues that we were talking about. Is that right, or are you just compartmentalize and you write about Second Amendment stuff on a Second Amendment area, and you write about other things other places?
No. So I when I started freelancing, my history is so long, my CV.
Nice.
When I started, writing, I was actually I worked at Ailing Gear Holsters. I was their first publicist, and so I started, doing writing on their behalf about 2A issues, which again, I had always been passionate about and learned more. And after losing my job there, I went to Jen Jakes and Bob Owens, who were at Bearing Arms at the time, and asked them, hey, do you guys need a writer? And so I freelanced there for about a year, and Town Hall Media, which owns Town Hall, asked me to come on board, and I became part of the editorial team at Town Hall and took my kind of 2A bucket with me, and that's just always kind of been my bread and butter and my expertise. And I was one of the few people who was thoroughly reading bills, breaking them down, doing legislative analysis on them, following things as they happened in the courts, in the states, on the local level. So really on all levels. And as I, did more of it, I just became more passionate about it, and here we are today.
There's a lot of different avenues to go down in the Second Amendment universe. You can talk about gear, you can talk about tactics, you can talk about self-defense, you can talk about legislation, lawsuits, all kinds of stuff. It sounds like you've touched on just about all of them at some point. What do you prefer? What's your favorite thing to write about?
Mine is definitely legislation and courts. And so Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation is actually one of my absolute favorite people because, and I told him this, I go, I love being able to sit down with you and just kind of nerd out and geek out and, You know, all of the gear and stuff is great, like, but without the legislation, without what's happening in the courts, we don't get to enjoy all of those things that come after. And so I really think anybody can write about the latest and greatest thing that, you know, dropped at SHOT Show, but it takes a really special person to be able to really dig down deep into the nitty gritty of it and to find out what they're trying to confiscate from us and how they're trying to erode our rights so that we have the ability to fight back so we can have all of those really cool things.
So it sounded like you started out on the local level in Inland Empire, which is awesome. And, of course, our organization's focus on, local. And definitely you've turned into the Second Amendment voice in the county. It wasn't too long ago when Second Amendment issues just didn't exist at the county or definitely not the city level. It was really more of a state and federal issue. But in the last few years, it's definitely made its way into local city councils, which is really stinks. In fact, in San Diego, we kicked off the show talking about the county has these listening sessions where they invited people to come and give suggestions on how to ban guns, essentially. And of course, they called it, they said, well, we want to hear your solution to gun violence. But what do you think it was? They're trying to ban guns. So Tuesday, the county board of supervisors, like the city council for the county, they're going to talk about what they heard. They're going to talk about all the suggestions they heard. Now, we outnumbered them at like every listening session and, basically said, hey, keep your hands off. And we actually came up with some suggestions. Like if somebody goes for a restraining order, they should also get an application for a CCW. And if the judge actually grants that restraining order, then they should get head-of-the-line privileges for that CCW. They need it right now. So we made real suggestions on what they could do. And Tuesday, I'm not anticipating them, reflecting the reality of these listening sessions. But what I want to know what I want to talk about and see what your opinion is, why is it important, that we focus on these local Second Amendment issues? What does that do to the Second Amendment? Why is that important for gun owners to maybe take their focus off the White House and Congress and put it on Main Street and Town Hall?
I think what we've seen really in the last 5 or 6 years is we've seen a lot of people realizing that the power is really at the local level. And the number one person that goes back to, in my opinion, is always going to be the sheriff. Your sheriff has the ability to say, I'm going to be a constitutional sheriff. I will follow the Constitution and not necessarily what's thrown at me. And that starts, like you guys said, with electing those who not just respect our rights, but uphold them. And we're seeing it in like Oregon and other states where, on a state level, they're trying to implement various gun control laws, whether they're, red flag laws or quote unquote high capacity magazine bans. Well, if you have every single sheriff saying, I'm not going to enforce this, who's going to enforce that? I mean,
well,
it's really
city and state police. They'll enforce it. Like, like DOJ state level. Unfortunately, I think it's wonderful these sheriffs who stand up and say, "Hey, we're not doing that. That's ridiculous." And we even had a DA. The last 2 DAs. We told them about the assault weapons ban in California, and we showed them some of the solutions, some of the California legal configurations, and said, would you prosecute this? And they said, no, that's ridiculous. I think it's a great, but it's kind of a Band-Aid though. It's, isn't it kind of a middle?
It is a Band-Aid. And, I was thinking about this when you guys told me you wanted to talk about this, and I have mixed feelings on the local stuff, because I definitely believe that change starts from the ground up and not the top down. But I think about it as just California is a great example. I started going through the CCW process, and I actually stopped. I saw the San Bernardino attacks happen from my office when I worked there. Like I watched it. We listened to the police scanners. We heard like instantly, same day it was like a Muslim. They were suspecting terrorism. Of course, nobody will tell you that. And so I had already been kind of like thinking about going through the CCW process. I had been insulted in college, so this was kind of in the back of my head. And I started going through this process, and I realized like how expensive it was. And the sheriff at the time, Stan Smith, like I have issues with him, but
yeah, so do we. He was horrible.
He was absolutely terrible on the Second Amendment, and it was absolute BS that the NRA and other gun groups came out saying he was this great constitutional gun-loving sheriff. The only reason that he ever started doing anything was because Sheriff McMahon in San Bernardino County was after the San Bernardino attack, and they had like tenfold the number of CCWs. He was basically forced to do the same thing.
Inland Empire gun owners didn't exist when Bianco got elected over Sniff. They didn't exist yet. But Gun Owners Radio, we talked about the problems with Sniff a lot. And you're right. He was protected by the NRA, and that is forever a black eye on them. They never should have protected. I have no idea. Actually, I do have some ideas. But they should never have protected Sniff. He was kind of one of these good old boy, like, well, the Second Amendment's great for me, but not for everybody else. And he was horrible. I'm so glad you said that, because you're absolutely right on it.
And he was a May issuer, and I realized, I was like, I'm not going to spend all this money, all this time, all this waiting. And, my reason being I'm a sexual assault survivor, which I shouldn't need a reason to begin with, but I think that's a pretty legitimate one. And is he going to come back and say, well, not for you, you're not worthy of it? And so I stopped. And so I'm trying to remember why I was going down this track, but
you said you have mixed feelings that, you got to start grassroots, but you got to start somewhere. But at the same time, then it's also an issue when you're going between, even just traveling up the state of California, the disparities between, what happens in Orange versus San Diego versus Riverside or San Bernardino. And so I take issue with that. Obviously, if it were up to me, I'd say burn it all down. Let's have constitutional carry. Let's not ask anybody. But that's, realistically speaking, will that ever happen? No. We gave them an inch. They took 10 miles, and we're not going to get that ground back. But so I have mixed feelings about that, because I do think there is some room for improvement if there is a strong enough majority that are willing to fight back. If a lot of local communities or counties or areas come together, then obviously that's going to make a bigger impact. So that's kind of where I see it.
All right. Hey, that was a great interview. Thank you very much. You just won a Gun Owners Radio hat. We'll send that to you.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that you can wear it proudly. So thanks a lot. It was really a lot of fun. Stay in touch. That's the world-class action, Jackson. By the way, a listener called in. They loved your nuts reference to food. And did you know we have a world-class flight training school right here in San Diego? Pilots can fly almost every day. We're close to the ocean and the desert. Mountains. SDFTI's instructors can help you learn to navigate around the international border and military bases. That's why San Diego is one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly in sunny San Diego right at Montgomery Field. Getting started is super easy. Give them a call, 858-569-1822. That's SDFTI, 858-569-1822.
A couple of random thoughts. We do have openings for sponsors, so if you're interested in reaching out to the Second Amendment world through Gun Owners Radio, reach out to us, and we will sit down and work out a marketing and advertising budget that fits perfectly for you and what you're doing here on Gun Owners Radio. And everybody who's listening, check out our sponsors. Reach out to them and say, hey, thanks for thanks for sponsoring.
And you
Gun Owners
don't
Radio.
have to be in the gun industry.
No, well, that's what when you think about it, is the SDFTI. That's a flight school.
You could be a black licorice salesperson that has a store.
Back to food.
It's a job in high
back to
demand.
food.
Russ, if you're listening, I didn't bring that up. That wasn't me.
Yes, it was.
That was Super Dave.
But no, seriously.
But check
I mean,
out. But go, yeah,
if you want to get the word out and you're a Second Amendment and you want to help,
there you go.
because by doing this, it helps, especially when we have to hire lawyers and trainers like Alicia.
All kinds of people.
All expensive.
Yeah. So I thought Beth's interview was good.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. There's, of course, we're focused on these listening sessions and what the county's looking to do. And like I said earlier, on Tuesday, don't really know how this is going to go. I don't know what
Do you
exactly
really
going
think
to do.
it's going to change? Do you think this was just an exercise that they did to say they did it?
I think that here's how I think it progressed. I think that we have 3 anti-gun board members on the county board, as soon as they got control, these anti-gun groups said, "Hey, we want more action on the county level." So they said, "All right, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hire this consulting firm. I'm sure they paid them 6 figures. We'll have to find out when they're done."
We paid them 6 figures.
Yeah. The county, our tax dollars did that. And they purposely picked a firm. When you go through this, you basically say, look, these are the results we want. Here's what we're trying to get to. So figure out the best pathway that looks scientific, that looks legit, and get us there. So they did these listening sessions, which is pretty standard. They pull this crap all the time on different subjects and whatever. It just happened to be the gun owner's turn. And by the way, they actually even have a subcommittee of volunteers, a board, like a subcommittee that talks about like health and safety type issues. And this didn't even go through that. It passed right by. Which it shouldn't have, but it's their priority or their prerogative. Anyway, so they said, all right, we want to ban guns. Hey, special interest, consulting group, we want to ban guns. Go figure out how to ban guns. They said, great, we're going to start with listening sessions. But we did such a good job of getting people to these listening sessions that I'm convinced they didn't get the ammunition that they needed in order to ban our
Is that a
guns.
play on words?
A little bit.
You think the check bounced?
Well, no, I think that they.
Hey, you spent 6 digits and you didn't get what you wanted?
I think that they were enormously frustrated. So what they did is they came out with this survey, and this survey is really, really crafted in a way so that they can get what they want. And the survey, again, if you go to our website, sign up, get our newsletter, you're going to get and if you got our email on Thursday, it's there. If you came to a meeting last week, we gave you a flyer and showed you how to get to this link to take this survey. And worst case scenario is go get on our email list now, and we will send you the email this week. You only have a month. It ends on, I think, Valentine's Day, and that's
How
it.
appropriate.
I know. So it's so structured that I think it's meant to really get the and you know how it is with surveys. You can structure, like the whole, like, look, I need you to answer yes or no. Have you stopped beating your wife?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's it. A lot of these questions are.
So if it comes out the way I think it's going to come out, can I have a mic drop on this one?
Yes.
Because you definitely have to bring that back for this.
Well, so the next step is they're on Tuesday what they're doing. And again, if you go to the county's website, you can listen for yourself on Tuesday. I'm definitely listening in, marked out the whole day so I can make sure not to, I can take notes, make sure not to miss it.
You're not allowed to go?
I don't want to go.
They don't want you-
I'd rather listen.
They don't want you to go.
Well, and it's easier for me to take notes and really study it if I'm watching it on my own computer. But
And you could scream.
yeah, and if I say cuss words,
Yeah.
So the what they're going to do is just kind of recap my understanding, recap what they think they heard in these listening sessions. But again, I really doubt they're going to tell the truth.
No, of course not.
They're not going to say, "Well, gee, I got to tell you, it sounds like from the feedback we got, it sounds like your county and the people in it have no appetite for any more, gun regulations. Do you think they're going to say that?
No.
No, it's not going to be that.
No.
But I don't know. Let's wait and see. And it'll be very interesting. There won't be any proposals on Tuesday. They're not going to say, hey, this is what you should do from here. I don't believe. It's just going to be a recap of what they say they heard. And, if we'll have a response. San Diego County Gun Owners is definitely going to have a response to their, what they say they heard. Now, if by some miracle they do say, hey, I got to tell you, San Diego doesn't seem like, we should probably just not do anything, when it comes to, we should probably, you guys are, barking up the wrong tree, then we'll say, hey, great, wonderful recap. You're absolutely right. The people of San Diego have spoken, and they don't want your Nathan Fletcher and Tara Raymer, whatever, Lawson and Nora, whatever her name is. We don't want your gun bans. We don't want your ammo bans. But this is the same county who adopted the made it impossible for you to home manufacture a firearm. I mean, they've been very, very vocal about being anti-gun. Of course, Nathan Fletcher was he pretended he was pro-gun back when he was a Republican, but he
got elected.
Yeah, but he wasn't. As soon as it's the weirdest thing ever. As soon as he became a Democrat,
what did I
his
say?
mind totally changed.
Take that
Yeah,
back.
so that's what's going to happen on Tuesday. But this fight it's just begun. This whole thing has just begun. They're definitely going to use this information to try to do local, ordinances that they've already decided that, there's already a file sitting on someone's desk saying, hey, no matter what they say in this stupid survey, this is what we're going to push
This
next.
is a chess game, and they're already 10 moves out.
Well, they at least have the plan,
But
Here are the next 10 moves we're going to make.
They're ready to see whatever we do, and they have just something to go against it. Guaranteed.
Yeah. So, I don't know. This is exactly why we need to be involved. This is exactly why we need to pay attention.
This is why you can't give up.
And this is exactly why, we were talking to Beth about, local versus state and federal. If this were happening on a federal level, zero chance you'd be able to have an impact.
Got to put the fires while they're small.
Exactly. You listening to my voice right now can actually have a real impact on what's going on, and we can defeat this thing easily. Not easily. It's never easy, but it's a very doable, realistic goal to defeat this thing and have this outcome go the way we want. And that's why we do what we do. No one else is talking about this.
Mm-mm.
No one else. We got the Republican Party to talk about it. They actually emailed it out. And Grace from the Republican Women's Federated, who's a wonderful lady, she is making sure that the Republican Women's Federated sent it out. And some other groups, I think some other groups have sent it out. But the point is, we're the tip of the spear. We're leading the fight. This is why we exist. The Second Amendment fight has trickled down into the county and city, and that's why we're here. That's why
I like being a thorn in their side.
Yeah. Why? No. Why? Tell me why.
Well, because if we weren't doing it, nobody would do it. And if nobody would do it, then we would be out. We wouldn't have our guns within a year.
Yeah, well, and we've seen when no one was doing it, things just progressively got worse.
Look how bad it got.
I think we're doing great. I mean, one of the things we went over, we talked about it at the last couple of shows, but we went over it in at the monthly meetings as we talked about all the lawsuits we're a part of.
Well, and look how many people have joined San Diego County Gun Owners. Look how many people are getting CCWs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
More than ever before. I got my renewal in the mail yesterday.
To join San Diego County Gun Owners?
No.
I know somebody.
No, I'm actually a member of San Diego County. No,
I know somebody.
my CCW renewal came.
Mine came yesterday as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're CCW twins. We're twinsies.
Right.
Twinsies.
Were you overlap? Did you overlap?
No.
Or
no,
did
I was good through
were
the
you expired?
28th, so I did well.
So
I was
did you
expired.
certify yourself?
No, I cannot do that. No, would be easy. Be
Okay, Mike
convenient
can
if I could.
certify you, and you can certify Mike.
I'm not on the list.
Not doing back
How
scratching.
about Action Jackson?
You got your CCW, bud?
Yes,
No.
you do.
You might be a little young for a
You're sitting
CCW.
on it.
Although you're a better shot than
Yeah, that's true. The both of them.
like 50% of the CCW.
It's amazing the
owners.
people that show up to those courses. They get approved and they show and they think they're going to get all the instruction they need from that 8-hour class. That's not what it's about.
It's not what it's about. It's a test, right? It's not a class.
Well, there's an assessment and a test as part of it, but the class is not about teaching you how to use your firearm.
Which means that'd be a tough
Yeah.
girl
That's
to
right.
go up against.
Oh, totally. So everybody, get on our email list. Read our email from Thursday or this week. Take that survey. It's extremely important.
Okay, folks, Inland Empire gun owners strive to be the ounce of prevention in the fight for your gun rights. How do they do it? They do it by fundraising, and getting local pro-gun candidates elected. Become a member today. Go to iegunowners.com/join and join the growing number of responsible gun owners stepping up to defend our Second Amendment right. The iegunowners.com/join. In fact, you can join all of the groups just by going to San Diego County Gun Owners.
How about that?
Oh.
Welcome to the second hour of Gun Owners Radio. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on finding us. We are your Second Amendment community here in Southern California. We're on every Sunday from 4 to 6 California time. Of course, you can see us youtube.com/gunownersradio or go to gunownersradio.com. Sign up for our newsletter, and we have a winner from last week who signed up for our newsletter and is won a Gun Owners Radio t-shirt. Goes to Daniel G23 Cunningham. Congratulations. I don't know what the G23 means. Is he a clone?
The new
Is he some
Glock.
kind of a G23?
It's a Glock.
Oh,
I don't
maybe
know.
that's it. I think it's 23 is that 40 caliber? So he's Daniel 40 caliber Cunningham.
Something like that. Yep.
All right, fair enough. Anyway, congratulations, Daniel. Thank you so much. We're going to send you a t-shirt. If you guys want to win a prize, join the email newsletter. Go to gunownersradio.com/subscribe. And, of course, pick up your merch at shop.gunownersradio.com. Alicia,
Yes.
pull back the curtain. Second segment. Last week, of course, you talked about a defensive gun use situation.
Correct.
What are you talking about this week?
So today, this one's a little bit different. I know, like I said, I know the spirit of what we were going after was to talk about a defensive shooting situation. We're kind of deviating a little bit, but I feel like it's still an important topic. It actually deals with the red flag laws. So, title of the article, just throw it out there. It states a Florida school received a threat. Did a red flag law prevent a shooting? So when you get into the meat of the article, there is a school that's described as being an alternative high school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. There is a student who...
What do you mean by alternative? What's
Kids that
mean?
have gotten into some trouble.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it's a school for troubled children.
correct. And so there was a past student who was no longer a student at the school, according to the article. He sent a photograph that, and here's word for word what they put. It says that he, so I'm just going to read it from the article. It
Yep,
says,
go for it.
a statement he made. He says, I just might come to Yo school and kill everybody. A 17-year-old who had previously attended the school wrote on an Instagram message to another student. According to police records, he singled out the principal and a behavioral specialist and sent a chilling photograph with a handgun and an assault rifle. So right there, that tells you where their minds are at. He, splayed out on a bed with Siegel Alternative High School written across the top of the image, which is the name of the school, this alternative school. So he made some specific threats. The article later, if you read further down, does state that he made specific threats about how he wanted to follow the principal to his vehicle and take him out there in the parking lot. He gets very specific, making threats against specific people. They claim that they use the red flag law in Florida to go move in and to prevent the shooting from happening. But really the meat, potatoes of what I want to get to is what I wanted to bring up is they're really linking this situation and saving the day to the red flag law. So what I wanted to kind of bring into this is a discussion of, without a red flag law, would this have still been stopped or prevented? Did he break? He was already breaking the law. He was already making.
Well, the law he broke is
He was making terroristic
threats.
Correct,
Exactly
which
right.
is already a law.
But isn't there already a law for that?
There
Yeah.
is, exactly.
So
But
then
they're
why do we
giving
need
the
a colored
credit.
law?
Exactly
Correct.
right.
That's exactly the point. So I
Did
really
you get that action?
Yes.
He's
Thank
taking notes.
So,
He's a studious student over here.
I mean, you're not going to leave us hanging. There's more to the story.
So they moved in. This was, again, a 17-year-old student in the state of Florida. You cannot purchase a handgun, a long gun in the state of Florida under the age of 18. Handguns are 21. Long guns, it stated it could be at the age of 18 if they had certain authority by way of a position through a job. Otherwise, it's 21 across the board. He couldn't buy ammunition. He couldn't buy the firearms. So he was already prohibited from...
Broke another law.
Correct. Broken another law. So all the credit for saving the day is being given to that red flag law.
Even though it's totally unnecessary.
Correct.
It's totally
Correct.
totally unnecessary. Not only that, but red flag law, they were invented to, in theory, they were trying to fill a gap. Hey, if someone's not breaking a law, but we're worried about them, that's what a red flag law is for.
How many people know that the other laws are already on the books? Because we don't talk about them, they don't talk about them, and nobody knows about them.
Well, it's just...
But red flag...
Well, but it just goes back, Alicia, exactly what you're saying. It goes back to if someone is breaking the law, and I mean a terroristic threat is something, if you're,
it's a
everybody
murder
knows.
threat.
Everybody knows that's illegal. I hope, unless you're just a total psycho. But if you're breaking the law, we can take your guns. If you're not breaking the law, then why are we taking your guns? But this is a tactic they're using to get people comfortable with red flag laws,
Right.
by using red flag laws when they're not necessary,
Putting a spin.
putting a spin on it. But so now what are you going to do? Are you going to argue? Well, wait a minute. This guy, terroristic threats. He was making terroristic threats. You don't think we should, red flag him? Well, no. What we're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alicia, what you're saying is the red flag law, the use of the red flag law in its existence did absolutely nothing to help this situation.
Correct.
But it's getting all the credit.
Correct. There are already laws on the books. There were already steps that they could take with existing laws. Why do we need a redundancy?
And that's
Why do
all
we need
that's
another
all
backdoor?
I would say. Say, we don't need this law.
And so why do you think they're doing it? What do you think their
Well,
motivation?
I think you've already put it, you already kind of put it out there. I think they're trying to put a spin and a positive lens through, viewing red laws as being a positive. Look at the great thing that we stopped.
Well, and the other laws, those are harder to convince the public that need to be enforced.
Well, they're not as sexy.
Right. But
You
if
know.
a red flag, it's like a red flag in front of a bull kind of a mentality. But see,
It's new. The red flag laws are new and shiny. The terroristic threats.
Exactly. See,
Yeah.
this is what I was saying earlier. They'll try one thing, and if they don't get the results, they already got another play to play. So they back up, regroup, and they try something else. And then we say something, and they try something else. I think, and if the red flag law dies, they'll come up with something else. There's always something in the background that they have in their bag of tricks to use. If we continually rebut what they say, they're always ready with something else.
Well, and you know what they're not. You know what you're not going to see covered in the news. You're not going to see them say, "Hey, you know what? We screwed up on this.
Oh no,
well, this one over here. So we did this red flag on this guy, and it turns out he wasn't dangerous at all, and we really overstepped our authority, and that's a huge mistake, everybody. So
you'll never hear that.
We cost this guy $15,000, and he had to spend the weekend in jail, and it was for no reason.
Right.
So we just wanted to get that story out there and let everybody know that maybe these red flag laws aren't perfect. So, yeah, you think they're ever going to write that article?
Can I play chess with you? Because you're terrible. You are terrible.
But
you're right. They're never going to.
They're not. You're not going to see that in the media. But if you come
you
look
can't
at,
even get them to say they're sorry.
if you look at my phone log, you're going to see people calling all the time about that kind of stuff. Real world.
Yeah.
If you talk to if the clients that John Dillon, the attorney, can talk about, he's got a bunch of those, and that's why these red flag laws are bad. Don't look at the supposed false stories about the good that they're doing. You have to look at the horrible bad they're doing and the fact that we just don't need them.
A lot of companies are really unhappy with their websites. They look old, they're out of date, and it's just not getting customers. But you know what? Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies with websites that look great, work great, and get leads. Stop being frustrated by your website and get one that you're proud to share. Contact Sage Tree today to get a website that makes the phone ring. Getting started is real easy. Call 866-728-9100. That's 866-728-9100 and get your website fixed today.
All right, our next guest was a referral from Dave R. I'm not going to say his full name because I know he likes his privacy, but Dave's awesome.
I love Dave.
I love Dave with
Thanks.
with a passion. Different Dave.
Appreciate it.
I love you too, but in a very different way. Akil, I hope I get this right. You're going to have to pronounce, as soon as you get on the air, I'm going to ask you how to pronounce your name. Akil Kadir. Akil Kadir from Citizens Safety Academy. Akil, did I say that anywhere near right?
Yeah, that was actually really good. Thanks.
You fantastic. Thank
Wait
you
a
so
minute,
much.
You said he was a girl.
I didn't say he was a
Yes,
girl.
you did.
No, I didn't. From Citizens Safety. Don't listen to Dave. We're I don't even know why we have him here in the studio. He wanders off if we don't give him something to do every Sunday.
Something
Anyway, tell us about Citizens Safety Academy.
Well, Citizen Safety Academy is a small training company here in the sunny climes of Middle Tennessee, right outside Nashville. And what we do is we kind of specialize in what we call gateway instruction and certifying, not so much certifying, but training and teaching gateway instructors. And, it's a little bit of a niche in the industry that me and my partner, Tiffany Johnson, are trying to carve out. A lot of people out there training, and we wanted to try to address some of the things we found, some of the shortcomings we found in the industry. Gateway instruction is very important, and it's actually the most important, and it's honestly the biggest part of the industry.
Wow.
But unfortunately, a lot of it is not being done very well.
Now, what does that mean, gateway instruction?
Decided
Oh, I'm
do
sorry.
the best we could. Yeah, so
Perfect.
me and Tiffany decided to do what we could to try to raise the standards.
That's awesome. So tell what does that refer to? Like, gateway instruction. What exactly does that mean?
We look at it as a instruction that's an on ramp into the gun community, into the greater gun community, Second Amendment community. The culture is changing, and there's a lot of people coming from all different walks of life, and we understand that if we want to save the Second Amendment, we've got to, expand the tent, as we like to say, get more and more different types of people in it. And sometimes in some circles, the gun industry get painted with with a brush, a political brush that makes it look like, it's unwelcoming to some people. And we know some of that is, by design, but we think that a lot of, guys in the gun industry, for example, I'm an African American, come from African American community, obviously. And, I was brought up differently than most people. My dad was an NRA instructor back in the 70s when there wasn't a whole lot of, African American, firearms instructors that were NRA certified. And one of the things I learned as I grew up and, was immersed in the gun community was that it was a very welcoming community. People, I never ran into a lot of problems that I think some of my friends who weren't gun people thought that there were. And so I said, me and Tiff talked about it one day, and we were like, hey, we need to, go to other types of people and let them know, just how welcoming this community is. And also show the gun community itself that sometimes we can be our own worst enemy.
I got to tell you, I really, what you're saying about the gun community, I think is worth talking a little bit more about. And not just if you're African American, but across the board, and I've watched people, who differ hugely politically, men, women, old, young, LGBT, you name the, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, you name it. And once you get on the range or you get into a classroom to talk about firearms, all that other stuff just disappears. And people are extremely welcoming. I've found.
I found the same, but a lot of people outside of who aren't in it, that's not what they think they see. And, to some extent there's, a concerted effort to paint gun owners in a certain way, and then sometimes people who are in the gun community, like I said, don't help. And sometimes it's not because they don't want to, they just don't know how, and so
That's interesting.
Tiff and I decided to go out and, and try to start, doing something. She's range master baby. She was ranged in the house of Tom Givens, and I'm, he pulled me on the staff, about 5 to 6 years ago. And, we looked around and said, it's a pretty tight team. What can we do? What can we contribute? And, we decided to do what we could to encourage Gun Culture 2.0 to get into Gun Culture 3.0 and just bring as many people into the gun culture as we could.
Why is it important to you?
I love my Second Amendment rights, what I'm saying? and I don't want them to go anywhere. And I think that, when I look worldwide, this is one of the few places, in the world where we have the rights and the abilities to do something. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. So, just there's parts of the country that, that it can be pretty draconian and as far as access to firearms and what types of firearms and things like that you can deal with. And, I love where I live now in Tennessee and what I can do and what I'm a part of. And I want more and more and more people to be a part of that, and so now the cool thing is I've been dealing with this. I've been in the gun community since my dad helped my dad out as a teen in the 80s. And, now I'm starting to see those changes. He's really excited, starting to see a lot of changes as more and more people, are starting to find out what we knew all along was that the gun community was a very welcoming community.
What I don't know if you even know this or not, but what got your dad? You said your dad was an NRA certified instructor in the 70s.
Yeah, he was a Vietnam vet, and he came home and he came home to Buffalo, got married, and he wanted to protect his family, things like that, and there wasn't a whole lot of other places that you could really go get the training, and he wanted to come back to his community and train more and more people. And so he started up a gun club, the Dorian Miller Rifle and Pistol Club, in 1980. That's still going strong to this day.
Wow.
And it's primarily on the east side of Buffalo, which is where most black people live. And but it was always open to all kinds of people, which
right.
was wonderful about it. He made sure that everybody knew that this thing is directed towards what he thought was a group of people who didn't have a gun culture, weren't part of a gun culture, didn't really know that they could be part of a gun culture. But at the same time, it was open to any and everybody who wanted to join.
So this question might be way too big, but what do you think it is? Like, what happened as far as firearms ownership, the view on firearms ownership in the African American community? If you look back at the history, it was one of the with the Jim Crow South. It was one of the rights that they fought for, to get the ability to own firearms, to carry firearms. I've read stories that Martin Luther King tried to get a carry permit. You look at a lot of the history of African Americans. There are firearms throughout, and then there seems to have taken an enormous 180 in the African American community. I don't know when. I'm going to say late 80s, 90s. I think. I don't know. Is that too big a question? Am I making too many blanket statements on people in general, or what do you think happened that the African community didn't or no longer embraced firearms?
The African American community, me and my dad have studied this pretty extensively, and it was during the Jim Crow. Firearms ownership among African Americans was discouraged. And in a lot of northern states, like a lot of the big cities they went to, New York, Chicago, places like that, when they migrated up after Jim Crow, those places had some of the most restricted gun laws for anybody. The Sullivan Law in New York State came around in 1917. So, which created New York permit, but also brought along a lot of the gun restrictions that we grew up with up there. But in the South, once things eased up, I was born in 1969. The Civil Rights Act was born in 1965. After that, it's just things turned slowly. Because black people, I know a lot of black people owned a lot of guns sometimes. Well, they owned a lot, but they owned guns, but it was very surreptitious. Everybody it's kind of hush-hush thing. You didn't really talk about it. They didn't feel like it was something that you could discuss. Unfortunately, the criminal element didn't have a problem doing it, but the good people, the church people, and then the civil rights realized that the way the civil rights movement is painted was a completely nonviolent movement, and anything that we achieved, we got through nonviolence. Even though a closer study of what happened shows that there was guns all in the background of everything, with the Deacons for Defense, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All that type of thing. Medgar Evers carried a Colt government Model 45. So it was, but that's not what you talk about. The larger narrative was that nonviolence won the day, and so
that's a really good point. I'll bet you.
Violent,
yeah,
guns became equated with violence, and so that was that's I think that has a lot to do with it.
And they alienated, like, for example, there's that real famous picture of Malcolm X, and I believe he was carrying an M1 carbine, peeking through a curtain, and that image was very much alienated for a nonviolent. Wow, that's an awesome answer. I'll bet you're exactly right. That's exactly what happened. Now, why would you encourage the African American community today to be gun owners? I mean, if that's the case, and other than just it's fun, because I don't think a lot of people need another hobby. Like, there's so much to do in life. I don't think people. I always try to stay away from it's fun. It'll be a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun things to do. What's a meatier reason that the African American community should care about being gun owners?
Because guns are what's behind. I'm a big believer in self-determination, self-protection, and that every living organism has a right to keep itself alive and protect itself. And I was a cop for 15 years in Buffalo, New York, and I can tell you what I think I learned, and very quickly doing that for a living, and I'm third generation with it, was that, by definition, by physics, the cops can't be there when you need them. And we all know that, and although it's put off as a platitude almost, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? That
right.
You are your own first responder. And it's just a matter of taking control of your own life, being, the decision maker, being the type of person who doesn't rely on other people to do what you should be doing, which is, defending yourself in those moments and things like that. And so I think that if more people took that into consideration, really thought about it, they realize they really don't have a choice.
Hey, is there a better tool that empowers a woman to defend against the attacker that's 100 pounds bigger? Well, that's why it's so important for women to learn how to defend themselves with the most effective self-defense tool ever invented. For women, led by women, the Not Me program is designed to help with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's free. To sign up, go to notmesd.org. The program is also available in Orange County and Inland Empire. Get help today, notmesd.org.
All right, we're talking to Akil Kadir from Citizens Safety Academy, and we were talking about what Citizens Safety Academy does, and we were talking about the African American community and the history of firearms ownership of the African American community, which is fascinating to me. Before I want to get back to talking about Citizens Safety Academy and what you guys do. But before we do, you said something really interesting. You were saying that you're interested in gun culture 3.0. We're in 2.0 and 3.0, and you were saying that extremely open and accepting community, the gun world, the gun owner community, which I agree 100%. And you were saying that there've definitely been some mistakes made. I'm paraphrasing what you said, or that sometimes we don't do the best that we should. What's an example? What's something that our listeners should be aware of that isn't bringing a good look or a good name to the gun owner world?
Well, first we try to educate them on optics a little bit and how how. For example, we got on our website we have something called the Wall of Smiles. And on there, we've got all these people who've gone shooting, and we try to make it look like all kinds of people, so that when other people who might not be from a minority group, for example, might not know, is that when minority groups look at your website, if they don't see anybody who looks like them on the website, they may not think that they're welcome. You know that they're welcome, but they may not know that they're welcome. And so what we have to do is explain to some people, hey, we have our Wall of Smiles, for example, so people can see all kinds of people on there. And then what they feel like is, hey, there's somebody there who looks like me, so I may be welcome there. Little things like that. People smiling, having a good time, as opposed to looking too mean and tactical, for example. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I do, absolutely. I think that's extremely important.
And so we get a lot of our friends who go, hey, I'm open to it. I'm willing to work with people. What do I do? And we go, don't go 50%, go 60%. Go another 10%, invite them, ask them, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Be open. When they're not ready, sit back and be like, okay, but if you change your mind, I'll be here for you. Little things like that. And then another big thing is, like you said earlier, because there's all kinds of people, we've learned I have my politics and what I believe in, and I leave that out of my classroom.
Nice.
Completely. You know what I'm saying? Just so that I can, because the Second Amendment, I believe I'm pretty much almost an absolutist, and I believe the Second Amendment applies to even people who don't believe in the darn Second Amendment. You know what I'm saying? And so,
yeah, but there are probably
we're on
things.
an island and we need to get more people on. That's just how I feel.
Sure, and there are probably things politically. You know, if there's somebody else that you meet who's a strong Second Amendment supporter, there are probably things that you disagree with them on politically. But why, getting people into firearms and the world of firearms and getting them to look past the stereotypes and really see us for the accepting community that we are is difficult. It's even more difficult if you present them with even more things that they disagree with you on. So. Right. Don't talk about taxes or immigration or abortion or any of these other hot button items. Just talk about the beauty of the Second Amendment and what it means to you. And I think that's extremely important.
Right. So as opposed to talking about those things, I'll talk about my grandkids. We'll talk about, we'll talk about all those things. Most people love their children, want good schools for them, good, a good job. The things that we all want and need, those are the things we focus on in our classroom. And guess what? Those things need to be protected.
And I totally do. And I never really understood. It took me a while to truly understand, the idea of, hey, if I'm looking at a website and I don't see people that look like me, then I don't feel welcome there. And I think that a lot of people recoil from that and kind of turn their nose up and say, well, I don't know why. And there's a couple things. First, it doesn't really matter, like, your perception. We're trying to appeal to their perception. But what made me really understand it, because I really thought about it for years. Why would it matter if somebody sees somebody that looks like you? And I realized this is kind of a silly. I don't know if this is a silly story or not. But in the 90s, when I was into boxing, my favorite boxer was Tommy Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
In an era, now he was good. But in an era where you had Holyfield, Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson, my favorite guy was Tommy Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he looked like me. I didn't. You know what I mean? Because I looked at him. Right. He had a mullet. I had a mullet. We're both. We had the same basic skin hue, and I realized it, but I didn't think about it. It was I think it was very subconscious. But as I got older and as I kind of realized that, I realized, oh, okay, I get it. They want to. I looked at Tommy Morrison and got into boxing. They're looking for. I get it now. I totally understand. It's okay, by the way. It's totally okay.
Right. And I tell guys this is a matter of strategy. You know what I'm saying? And that's, we try to speak to the gun owners and Second Amendment people as, hey, we've got a bit of an uphill fight, so let's start getting some troops on our side. And what we do is, in our classes, I'll show a picture of a girl who was extremely scared to come to our class and shoot the gun, so much so that her hands are trembling because guns have a PR problem. They do. And so we're operating at a deficit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm helping her out. And then at the end, I show a picture of her pointing at her target and she's elated. Turns out she was my son's, my daughter-in-law's friend. And I go to a wedding and she jumps in my lap and I'm trying to figure out who this girl is. And I realize it's the girl from the class, and then she, and I realized that we changed her life. And I said to the guys in the class, I said, hey, even if she never wants a gun in her life, now it's hard to make it out that all gun people are bad to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
awesome. We are an ambassador to this thing, and we really have to go out, because John Farnham, the great John Farnham, said something all the time. He said, and I'm saying this, and he said this, and he said,
sure.
The Second Amendment is not going to be is not going to be carried on the backs of aging white men. It's not. America's changing, demographics are changing, and we have to change our tactics and like I said, get as many people into this thing as we can, or it's going to be tough.
Male, pale, and stale. That's what I.
Why are you looking at me?
You and me, Dave. You and me are a little too male, a little too pale, a little too stale. That's why we have Alicia. She's not stale or male.
She's female.
And then we have Action Jackson here, who's not stale at all. He's only, how old are you, buddy?
9.
9 years old. Okay,
wow.
so yeah,
9 years fresh.
Hey, you're gonna love this, Akil. He's got a really important question.
He does. Ask him your question, bud.
What's your favorite gun?
Nice, good question.
Really? My favorite gun is an old Colt Python my dad gave me. 1969.
You know how
with
hard those are to
bluing
find in
that looks like
California?
water, and there's not a turn line on the cylinder. It's one.
That is a Python.
Pull it
I
out
think
every so often, just look at it.
is that three? Is a Python's 357?
Yeah, 3 6-inch barrels, beautiful.
That's awesome. I always wanted
Yeah,
the
I don't shoot it, but I just look at it. I pull it out. It's on a leopard skin gun rug with desiccant packs, and I just look at it, touch it, and then rub it clean and stick it back in the safe. You know.
My dream gun is the Anaconda, Colt Anaconda, which is it's the 44 Magnum version of that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, I've always wanted one of those so badly. I encourage you to shoot it though, man. I don't just babysit it for the next guy.
Come on.
I try to, but every time I cock the hammer and it's so smooth and it locks up so tight, and I just ease the hammer forward, and I go nah, and then I go grab a Glock and go shoot it.
See, because you know if you shoot it, you'll never put it down.
That's probably true. Yeah, and then after that thing is so like a switch watch. It probably won't. You know, I'm pretty hard on them. You know what I'm saying? So that one, then I've got a Browning high power that's completely, nickel with gold trigger and everything. I've never shot it either. They just sit in the safe and look pretty. So.
See, I thought my wife's cousin went to Alicia and me and says, "Hey, I want a gun." I said, "All right, have you ever owned a gun?" He goes, "No."
Nope.
I said, "So what do you want?" "I want a Smith & Wesson Magnum 8-inch
500.
barrel.
500.
8-inch barrel."
Yeah, that's a good first gun.
I go,
Now,
what the hell? What are you going to do with it?
Akil, do you recommend? Is that a common recommendation
Yeah.
for a first gun?
That's
500?
a concealed carry.
Yeah, nah. Either that or Desert Eagle and 50 cal.
Well, it gets worse. Hey, Akil, it gets worse. I said, okay, so what are you going to do with it? Well, I need to get somebody to make a box, and I'm going to hang it on the wall.
Nice.
I said, no, you're not. And Alicia says, no, you're not. You're going to the range. His eyes are still stuck in the back of his head.
I made him shoot it.
She made him shoot it. Oh, and then, of course, Alicia had to shoot it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you want to make sure it was safe.
Right. I did
of
shoot
course.
it first.
She is an instructor.
He didn't see me blow over, so he was willing to go.
So you're good.
You know, if you've never shot one, just anybody out there, the recoil on the 500 is not that bad. It's the percussion from the sound that'll blow you over.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
And I saw
It
the
is
report
the
and all the flame come out both sides of it, and I watched carefully from a couple lanes down, and I was like,
What
That's
the
nice.
hell
Yeah.
was that?
yeah. Like,
It's
then
the atmospheric event that happens.
Well, they're
when-
still putting windows in Discount Gun Mart afterwards.
the guy said you got to open your mouth when you shoot it, So
Never thought of that.
So, how do people, if people want to know more about you, before we have just a few more minutes, and I want to make sure
Follow
if
you
people
around.
want to follow you, if people want to work with you, or what do you recommend? How do they find you? What's a good first step? What kind of people should reach out to you?
anybody can reach
Yeah.
out to us, and they can get us at citizensafety.com. It's the best way to do it, and we got a contact form on there, and it goes to me and Tiff, and we'll be happy to talk to anybody just about any old thing. So,
Hey, this has been a fun interview. We appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday evening right in the middle of football.
I appreciate you having me. It was great. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, I guess we're not quite done yet. Go ahead. Ask another question, Sam.
Mike. My name's Mike. We've known each other for
where's
8
the
years.
name tag? You need a name tag.
What? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do a little lightning round. Just real quick questions that I like to ask from folks. Some of the every gun guy knows these. So,
Okay, gotcha.
9mm or 45.
9.
9mm 45. Awesome.
45, Gavin. Now I'm 9. Yep.
AR or AK?
Now I'm AR.
Really? You were an AK
Sounds
guy
like
before?
he was an AKer.
You remember back in the days, you could get com block guns cheap. You know what I'm saying? I got my first SKS was at Woolworths. You know, now you want a good AK, it's $2,000. So now I'm a diehard AR guy.
And last one, Mossberg 500 or Remington 870?
Remy 870 all day.
Because
long,
you know
man.
what? Because you're law enforcement, right?
Yeah, that. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I'm old enough that we actually had a Ithaca 37. So
A classic by no doubt.
Nice talking to you, man.
Nice
Thank
talking
you
to
for
you,
coming
man.
on.
Appreciate
likewise,
it.
guys. Hey, you take care.
Well, page 39. A self-defense event happens in seconds. And in the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life could change forever. I pray you're never forced to shoot in self-defense, but if you must, then you must be ready. That's why the USCCA exists, because every responsibly armed American could have the training and education to navigate a self-defense situation. And should you need it, the 24/7 critical response team is right there for you. To discover more about the USCCA, visit uscca.com/GOR. Act now, because the life you save could be your own. That's uscca.com/GOR.
All right, it's time for everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew. Sam the Gunman is, of course, my nephew, and we found out years ago that he's really good at gun trivia. So every week we ask him a question. Of course, he does not get the question in advance. You email us the question. If we use it on the air, we'll give you a hat or shirt. And if you stump my nephew, you'll get something cool. Probably tickets to Gun Prom, or I don't know. We'll find something really cool for you. So, Sam, are you there?
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Not bad. Can't complain.
All right. Action Jackson, my friend. Are you ready to read the question?
I certainly am.
All right. Fire away. Unrehearsed. So who's this one from?
Allie from Santee.
Allie from Santee. Go
I
for
hope
it.
Jackson did like tongue exercises to get ready for this one.
The arsonist wears or has oddly shaped feet.
Wants to know what's the difference between the Czech and
Yugoslavian
versions of the Samopolia version.
Let me try it. Okay.
Sorry,
What's the difference between the Czech and Yugoslavian versions of the Samopal VZ61 Scorpion? That's SAMOPAL VZ.61 Scorpion. What's the difference between the Czech and Yugoslavian version?
Allie from Santee, thanks for writing in. The Scorpion is a machine pistol / I guess you could call it personal defense weapon of Czechoslovakian origin back when Czechoslovakia was still one country instead of two. Most were made in 32 ACP, but if I recall correctly, they later on made some in either 380 or 9mm. I can't remember. So I'm going to go out on a limb and guess, because I didn't know that there was a Yugoslavian version. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it's the chambering, that the original Czech one was in 32 and that the Yugoslavian one would have been in a different caliber.
So here's the deal. That may be a difference. So what we'll have to do is check that and get back to you, but it's not the difference that that they're looking for.
Okay, so I didn't get it.
Wait a minute.
I'm researching right now.
Alicia is researching. She's going to look to see if the Czech and Yugoslavian Scorpion came in different calibers. That might be a difference. While she's researching that, the answer they wrote is the two pistols are easily distinguished since Czech production has a wooden pistol grip and the Yugoslavian models have plastic grips. Scorpion VZ61 was used by many units of the Czech and Yugoslavian armies and has been exported to various African states with communist connections. So she's going to look that up. We're gonna put that on pause, and while we look that up to see if you may have nailed it or not, why don't you talk about your latest article, which is at San Diego County GunOwners.com/blog or OrangeCountyGunOwners.com/blog or InlandEmpireGunOwners.com/blog.
So my latest article was, I don't remember the exact title of it, but it was something along the lines of gun control supporters should oppose assault weapon bans. And my angle there was basically, everyone listening to this show, or probably almost everyone listening to this show, can name at least 5 good reasons why assault weapon bans, like the one in California and like the one we had federally from 94 to 04, are completely ridiculous. But what I wanted to do is sort of explain why they're bad public policy in terms that someone who is already anti-gun can agree with. And what I said was basically, hey, look, if you somehow magically made all rifles of any type, quote unquote, assault weapon or not, disappear overnight, all rifles are out of circulation. Those account for about 1.3, 1.4% of all murders, which is absolutely minuscule. It's basically a rounding error. And so I go into a little bit more detail than that and show my work and do the math and everything. But basically what I try to do is explain why they're bad laws in a way that someone who is already anti-gun can agree with.
And I think that's important because, assault weapon bans are wrong. Assault weapon bans are wrong for a lot of reasons, and they're really just gun bans. That's all they are. If you can ban something that they consider an assault weapon, you can ban any firearm, and that's just a fact. Boom, bam, that's how it is. But I think a lot of people struggle with explaining why. If someone says, "Hey, I'm against assault weapon bans," well, why? And and that's they start to fall down. I really like articles like yours, the way that you structured it, the way that you wrote it, and of course the subject and content, because it really gives people the ability to explain not just that they don't like something, but why they don't like it, why it's not good. So I thought that was really great. What is there anything in particular that inspires you to write it at this time?
No, the way I made it topical was that I mentioned the one that just passed and is being already tied up in court in the state of Illinois. But it's really universally applicable, and the numbers I use are from the federal government, sources within the federal government. So I'm trying to make an argument sort of nationwide. But you can apply pretty much the same logic to any state. Although the numbers are a little bit different, they're close enough that the point still makes sense. And importantly, as I said, I show my work and I explain where I got my numbers. So anyone who wants to can grab a calculator and punch in the same calculations and get the same result I did.
Nice, awesome job. So do we come up? Do we have a determination, Alicia?
Yes, we do.
What do we got?
So if you look back, the name of the firearm with the Semapal, the VZ61, the 61 does indicate the chamber. So it is chambered in 32. They did make other versions, for example, a 9 and 380. Those have different model numbers, though.
Okay.
So that 61 is specific to that
I
caliber.
didn't get it at all.
All right. Well,
That was a good guess, though.
what a humiliating sound effect. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park. Anyway. Allie from Santee, congratulations. You're going to get a hat or a shirt, and you're also going to get, I think what we'll do is we'll give you tickets to Gun Prom, which is, of course, coming up in September, so you have a little bit of a wait, but that'll give you time to find a date, Allie. So fantastic job, Sam. Are you going to have another article for us this week? Or are you taking a week off?
I do, yeah. I've got another one going up tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock your time, noon my time.
All right. Don't tell us. Don't spoil it. Don't ruin it.
But
is it spicy? The last couple have been spicy.
It's like it's fairly mild. It's not my best work, but it's all right.
All right. You like your new watch?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Are you wearing it or not really? You don't really.
I'm not wearing it right now, but I wore it yesterday.
I got him. Am I allowed to? Can I tell everybody? I got you. I got him a G-Shock. Yeah,
that's what you got, Action Jackson.
Well, he likes his. Well, yeah, his was
G-Shock. Where's his?
His was Action Jackson's is G-Shock-esque.
Oh,
whereas Sam's is a legit G-Shock.
Was it his birthday?
No, it was just a general holiday. It was non-denominational gift exchange day.
Gotcha.
And I was a little late, so I got it for him. Yeah,
you're a busy guy.
Non-denominational gift exchange day. All right, man. Thank you so much. Awesome job as always, and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, sorry I didn't get that one, but thanks for having me on as always.
Well, it was a good job, and I think it's about time somebody stumped you.
You're still 98 to 1, so you're okay.
I think you just were being nice and making sure that Allie got tickets to Gun Prom.
I think so too.
Are you coming out for Gun Prom?
If you're paying,
I hope to be able to.
Really, in September?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll work out with my schedule, but I hope so.
Awesome.
Do you
All
need
right.
a letter? Do you need a letter from Mike?
I might. We'll see.
A work note.
Who would that letter go to exactly?
God only
A doctor's note?
knows. Yeah, it's a doctor's note.
I'll write a letter to your doctor so that you.
I'm
I
sorry,
don't know
Sam can't come to work today. Thanks, buddy. You're this.
See you, Sam.
Yeah, thanks. Good night.